What exactly is a reserve study? Well, the answer depends on who you are. Are you a board member or owner? Are you an insurance professional? Are you a lender? In our What is a Reserve Study webinar, we begin by looking at the roles each party plays, how they interact, and what information the reserve study provides to them. Strong associations don't happen by accident. Strong associations are a result of everyone understanding their roles and working together for a common outcome. Watch and see for yourself. Well, thank you, Jen, and hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us today for this webinar on what is a reserve study. Now, in prior webinars, we've talked about different technical aspects of a reserve study, diving into the details. We've also had guests on the program talking about what they contribute to a reserve study. But today, we want to back up a little bit and say, well, who's it for, what's in it, and what does it do? And this was driven by some recent events in the news and some recent people that have been in contact with me. I've been contacted more recently by lenders asking for details about the reserve study, and for insurance representatives and board members together talking about what can we do to lower our insurance premiums. How can we work together? What do the insurance companies want to know? What are they looking for in the reserve study? And how can we work together for the best interests of the association? So it's time to have a webinar talking about, indeed, what is a reserve study. And it starts with the idea of the parties involved. And I want to make it very clear that perspective is critical to understanding. Different people are going to see the same thing differently. And when I was crafting this webinar, this is the image that came to mind. I've seen this in paintings before, and I liked finding this simple little graphic. You can see the different people touching an elephant or meeting an elephant, blind people. The first time they might see it, you can see the person on the right thinking, oh, it feels like a rope. The person on the left says it feels a lot like a pointy thing, a spear. Or the woman by a leg says it looks to me like it's a tree. We're going to use this idea that perspective is important and it guides your understanding and your expectations of what a reserve study is. But since all we do is reserve studies here at Association Reserves, we want to take this idea of this complex elephant-ish type thing and tell you right from the beginning, well, what is it? What is this elephant thing? And so taken straight from National Reserve Study Standards definition, or you can read along with me, a reserve study is a budget planning tool that, number one, identifies the components a community association is responsible for maintaining or replacing. Number two, the status of the reserve fund. And three, a stable and equitable funding plan that offsets those anticipated future major common area expenditures. So there you get a hint that it is multifaceted, just like sometimes you see someone riding on an elephant. So is it a mode of transportation? Someone using an elephant's trunk and tusks to maybe lift something heavy. Maybe you've seen it with a harness. Maybe it's pulling something heavy. So there's different things an elephant does. And so right from the start, there's three things that you should find per National Reserve Study Standards in a reserve study. And let's show those three things looking like this. The foundation is the component list. Then we'll calculate the reserve fund strength after we compare cash in the bank to the needs of all those components. And then based on that financial starting point, we're going to craft a funding plan. So this is important, so I want to go a little bit further into it. So 3 parts. The component list is what's there at your association and what condition it's in. Second part is reserve fund strength, where we calculate, okay, based on how much cash you have, how really does that match up? We have $500,000. Do we feel good about that or bad about that? That's kind of where we're going with that. And then the funding plan is based on that financial starting point, how much cash do we need to be setting aside on an ongoing basis from here to maintain our properties? We have the right cash at the right time. So those are how those 3 things are going to work together. If all you care about is the budget number, then maybe you don't look at the other 2. If all you care is the components, again, maybe you don't look at the other two, but all three together, they form a reserve study. And another fundamental thing that drives the preparation of reserve studies is that owning real estate, maintaining real estate is fundamentally expensive. And that's driven by Mother Nature and Father Time. They see to it that everything is in a constant state of deterioration. And so that makes it eventually going to hit the time where it needs a major repair or a replacement. So this idea of reserves is not driven by legislation. It's not driven by your governing documents. It's not driven by board member philosophy or even maybe a policy statement that the prior board left you with. You do a reserve study because everything is in a constant state of change. And you need to know, okay, how are we going to move this association forward? Us and all the outside parties, a reserve study gathers this information together that other people are going to want to see. So it's the deterioration that defines the cost. Basically, I guess I should say the developer said, let's design this kind of buildings. And so per construction, you have a certain amount of roof. You have a certain amount of asphalt. And based on those common areas, how fast they deteriorate, that's driven by Mother Nature and Father Time. The cost is going to happen no matter if you fund it or not. Okay? So it is up to the board to set a budget that keeps up with that deterioration so that there is money collected from the first 20 years of members to pay for that first roof. Okay? Now, I put an asterisk there because in general, board members have the power to set a budget for the association. In some associations, based on their governing documents or state law, the members, the homeowners, either get to vote to approve it or vote to deny it or things like that. But mostly it's the board's job to set a budget that keeps up with what needs to happen at the association. And then, again, according to the governing documents, homeowners, the members of the association, they're responsible to pay their share. And that share may be an equal share based on the number of units there. It may be a proportional share based on larger or smaller. I've seen high rises where the penthouse homeowners pay a significantly larger amount just because they're the premium owners. And they're the ones that drive the property values at the association, and so they pay a higher amount. But that's all defined by the governing documents. So that's the teamwork here. And already you can sense that there's multiple parties involved. The board, the homeowners, those two need to work together and have success at the association. And I'm going to suggest that there are even more threes. We talked about those things on the last slide, but of the components, there's yet a three-part test to define which projects are appropriate for reserve funding. And then of the reserve fund strength calculation, there's three ranges. Pretty simply, it's the weak, the fair, and the strong, or good, fair, poor, but it's three ranges. And on the funding results, there's three goals: a risky baseline goal, a conservative full funding goal, and there's the threshold goal that is at some threshold in between. But I'm not going to go down that too much. I want to spend time on the main content of this, how it's viewed, what it's for, but I want to make it clear that the reserve study itself is not fundamentally very complicated. It's three parts of it, and for its major three parts, each has three parts of that. So there's nothing with a 17-part checklist, nothing that is advanced calculus. It's just some pretty simple fundamentals. So, straight to the parties. Let's talk about the boards and the homeowners. It seems like that's a majority of who's with us here today. Of the boards and the homeowners, they're looking for, okay, we live here, we own here, it's ours. I have a fractional interest in this not-for-profit corporation, and it's where I live. I bought it, so it has some value. How do we responsibly run our association forward into the future? What's that going to take budget-wise? How are we going to prepare? Just like any business that needs to prepare for its major cash drops when they need to, if you're a hotel, You need to plan ahead for a new roof, a new elevator, taking care of the asphalt. You want to responsibly collect the right amount of money and have it set aside so you can take care of the place. So question is, what does it cost on an ongoing basis to be a part of this association? I'm a member here. What's that mean to me? And does our association have enough money now? And are we on trajectory? Are we on plan to have enough money when we need it in a few years for that X project? Painting, roofing, asphalt, elevator, new carpeting in the hallways, whatever it is. Are we on track for it? And so these are the kind of questions that the homeowner members are going to ask because they have a financial interest in co-owning homes at the association. Now let's shift to the insurance professionals. Okay, they are not owners. They're trying to provide a service to the association. They're looking at the reserve say, wondering what can they learn about the association? Are most of the components okay? Or are most of the components near the end of their useful life? And what are the next big projects coming? Are the next big projects coming soon? Or are the next projects just kind of relatively trivial? Just the pool furniture, maybe painting the ironwork around the pool, something like that, or entry intercom system. Those are relatively small compared to the big ones. So the insurance professionals are asking, what's around the corner? And then are they, the association, is the association on pace to maintain what they have? Are they funding per the reserve plan? Are they doing their part to take care of the place? Or are they just closing their eyes, putting their hands over their ears and crossing their arms saying, we don't care, we got insurance? Insurance companies don't like that because that just means that the association is pushing risk over to the insurance company. That means higher payouts, and that's going to mean higher premiums. So in addition, there's a side question. Are there other risks there that are not even on the reserve study? Like, is this a lakefront property with a dock? You and I think of the pool as how often do we need to resurface it? Is it attractive? Is it well presented? But an insurance company looks at how much risk there is of accidents around a pool. Are there old balconies there that could also provide some health or safety risks? And the insurance professionals are looking for, okay, I see that, but that was 3 years ago. I see that, but that was 5 years ago. So they're concerned with how old is that reserve study. And I'll touch on that more in just a couple minutes. The mortgage lenders, I'm separating this from the lenders that are lending to an association for an association's common area project, although there are some similarities. But primarily for the mortgage lenders, they're asking, and they have a simple time-tested metric, how much of total budget is the association setting aside towards reserves? And for many years, that's been 10%. They want to see at least 10% going towards reserves. I'll speak more on that in just a little bit. And then when are the next big projects coming? Does the association has enough cash? Are they prepared for these projects, or are they going to be unsettling? Because the mortgage lenders want to know, for the person paying the mortgage, they want to make sure that person has plenty of money to pay the mortgage. And so the lenders are concerned about extra bills that person paying the mortgage will have to pay. So lenders don't like special assessments. Lenders don't like really big projects on the horizon and then underfunded reserve fund. So they're also wanting to know, is the association budgeting per the reserve study? If the reserve study says you should be setting aside $10,000 a month and the association is only setting aside $5,000, they note that. And they realize that the association is not on trajectory to successfully get to the future. And you think, how long is a mortgage? Typical mortgages are 30 years. And so the lenders have a long-term view. They want to make sure that the association is stable for the long term. So they want to see the association budgeting per the reserve study. So it's not just a short-term, hey, let's give our members a break for a couple of years. We'll deal with that in the future, special assess for it in the future. Lenders don't like that. And again, they're also looking at how old is that information. That was 5 years ago. 5 years ago was, wow, 2021. We're still in the pandemic, still in years of high inflation, still thinking about supply chain issues, maybe some shortages of some products that we were trying to purchase. So lenders are concerned about how old is that reserve study. The line they've drawn in the sand is 3 years. They want to see a reserve study that is 3 years or newer from the date of the loan application. At Association Reserves, we make the present less stressful and the future more secure. If you'd like to join us in that mission, please like this video and subscribe to our channel. Leave a comment down below with what you'd like to see in a future webinar. Let's plan for your best future.